Hi, I'm Natalie of So Hungry Hippie, and today I'm going to walk you through making the Montana dress, an excellent pattern by Style Arc. So for this dress, the bodice is self-lined. So when I'm cutting out, I'm going to show you first cutting out the exterior fabric and secondly cutting out the lining fabric. So first up, I'm going to take you overhead. And please wash and dry and then press your fabrics before cutting out garments because fabric does tend to have a bit of a shrink and you don't want to make a full garment and then not be able to wear it. So proper prep is essential here. I'm just going to hold these down. I always cut out garment fabrics with my rotary cutter. I find that it's really just faster and easier for me. You can cut out any which way you like. Whatever works for you is correct. Okay, so this is on the fold. This is the back exterior. So I'll need to cut out another piece for the lining, but I'm not going to do that just yet. Now I am moving on to front bodice. So this also is on the fold of the fabric. So since I'm working with my fabric like this, I'm just going to flip this over to make sure that the fold is on the fold. Yep, looks good. I'm gonna weigh this down for a sec. And there's the front exterior. So I'll cut my lining out afterwards. Like I said, I'm gonna set that aside for the moment. Now I've got all this fabric here and I want to use this as smart as possible. I rarely look at cutting layouts. They drive me crazy. You can do that if you like. I know that I do not like. So that's why I don't do it. Okay, I'm folding this down so I can cut all 4 pockets at once. The pockets, these inseam pockets, are optional. But what girl doesn't love a pocket, right? So I'm gonna put them in mine. Sometimes I extend my pockets to be much bigger. As you can see, I'm doing that right there. I like a really big pocket. So we need 4 pieces to have 2 pockets. So those are cut out. Now I can trim away this and see what I've got left. Here, I have to cut the skirt portion. And let me just show you these pieces. So this is binding if you don't want to do the lined bodice. I'm not going to need to do that because we're doing the lined. This is stabilizer, these 2 pieces, and I rough cut these out. They're not cut to size yet. So stabilizer, I'll do that later, or interfacing, whatever you want to call it. Now let's see here, place on the fold of the fabric. So when I'm cutting a big chunk, I'm going to turn my fabric so that it's lined up on the table the best way for me. Now you can absolutely shorten or lengthen. Here's the line to do that. So you would cut the paper pattern piece and either extend it and then tape it back together, or you would take one and move it up and then tape it and put it back together. This tutorial is not about lengthening or shortening. I'm just going to cut the pattern piece as it is. I love a long skirt. Love it. Love wearing them. I feel very comfortable and secure in them. So I'm going to cut mine long. sort of flares out there at the bottom, just a smidge. Okay, so there's one. So now I've got 2 skirt pieces cut on the fold. I've got 4 pocket pieces, and I've got 1 front and 1 back bodice cut out of this Cafe stripes, and this is all I have left. I could probably do a clutch, or maybe I'll do a hairband or something cute with this leftover. So I'm just gonna put it over here. And now I need to cut the lining for the bodice. So I'm gonna get out these pieces. Let's see. So this is the front. The front neckline is a lower neckline than the back. That's how you can always tell which one you're working with. It's usually always gonna be lower than the back neckline because the back usually sits at the nape of your neck. So just these 2 pieces. So let me see, I don't need very much fabric. Do I have anything sitting back here I could use? All right, so I grabbed this rayon. This will feel lovely against the skin as a lining. So let me cut out my bodice part. Bodice. Bodice. There I go, doing it again. Oh, Lord, help me. Okay, so there's that. So on the fold, this is my front. There we go. And now I need a back. Yep. So now we have a lining for the bodice front and back as well. Now, one thing you want to do on garment patterns is make sure you mark all the little notches, whichever way you want. I tend to use chalk. If you want to snip triangles, you can do that too. Whatever way works for you is fine. So now just make sure you've ironed your pieces, you've got your thread, your needle is good to go, you've got enough space to sew. And then I'm going to refer to the pattern while I'm making this with you. This is a pretty easy garment to make, so you're going to be just fine. Just take it as slow as you need to go. It's never a race. Okay, with right sides facing, so the front and back bodice seam, side seams together. Repeat for the second inner bodice. That's the lining. All right, let's go. I'm gonna be making this, by the way, with my straight stitch machine. Normally, I would use my serger or a machine with a zigzag stitch, but I'm not gonna break down my whole setup for this, and I want people who don't have a serger to still do this. What I'm gonna do after the fact is treat all my seams with pinking shears, okay? And that'll prevent fraying. And then, you know, down the road, if I feel like, oh, I need to serge these, I can serge most of the seams after the fact if I want to. But don't let not having a serger stop you by any means. For 10 years, I made garments with a sewing machine. It can be done and it's just fine. Don't let anyone shame you about it. Don't feel bad about it. It's absolutely fine. Okay, so I'm gonna move my lining out of the way for a moment. I love sewing garments, and you know why? Because it's so fast. Compared to quilts, it's like mega fast. Here we go. Front and back, we want to make sure we're doing right sides together. It's really hard to tell on this cave. I think this is right. Right sides together. See these little side seams? That's where we're sewing. And it's a 1 centimeter seam allowance, which is 3/8 of an inch. Now don't get too crazy. If you don't, just measure it with your little hem gauge thingamajig and have that out handy, because it will be a bit of a change from bag making, quilting, and either also US made sewing patterns, which typically have a 5/8 inch seam allowance. Okay, a little bit bigger. So I just get out my hem gauge, which my little red thing is gone, but whatever, I don't care. And I'm gonna lay this on the bodice and make a little chalk line. 1, 2, 3. And then I can kind of guesstimate where I'm going with this. Make sure I'm right. 1, 2, 3. A little generous, but I can sew on the inside of my chalk line. You see what I mean? Like, it's very easy to make it too generous. Sometimes when I was beginning, and even now, if I'm being perfectly honest, I make a garment like a little too big because that's how I like it to fit. Just a little too big. I am who I am. All right, let's back stitch. It's really important when sewing garments not to push or pull. that too with right sides facing. So I got to turn this right side out. Here's my front. See how the neckline is lower? Sew the inner and outer neck seams of the two bodices together. Sew around the neck, finishing at the notch, which is about 2 inches down from the shoulder seam. So here are our notches, about 2 inches down. So that's where we're going to stop and start. So this is my other front bodice. I'm going to line these up. Lift these 2 layers, so I'm not pinning the back layer or anything. I'm just matching the front. Okay, so remember our markings. We're going to start here, come around and stop here. It might help you. I like to put a stop sign pin. See how it's red? I put it there and then I'll put it here. Because that, sometimes if I zone out, I forget. So start here, end here. This is the front. Ooh, that shifted quite a bit. So I'm gonna throw a pin in the middle there. See that? Sometimes you don't know until you start carrying things around. So let me just make sure. I don't want anything to distort. So let's use lots of pins. Okay, that should be better. I'm using a 2.5 centimeter stitch length, by the way. Okay, there's the front. My shoes are a little too platform today. So there's the front one. Now let's do the back. Right sides together. It says the back, right? Yeah, diagram shows the back. So again, here is the stop and the start. I'm going to start here, so to here. Okay, let's move the pins. Okay, so now I'm going to get my hand again. Turn it right sides out. I'm going to press that. Now, when we understitch, what you're doing is you're folding that seam allowance underneath there to the lining, and we're going to stitch only on the lining. And this makes it so we don't have to top stitch around the garment. And that's like a dead giveaway that something is homemade. And it's fine. I do it often because I don't care. But let's do it like the pattern is telling us. So that seam allowance is, I'm pulling it with my fingers towards the lining. And you kind of have to move it around the ham. There it goes. Now this is where you would use a matching thread, but you know, on tutorials, I don't do that. So now I'm gonna take it to the machine and I'm sewing that seam allowance to the lining. So let's go. And this makes the seam behave better when you're wearing it. Don't pull, let the feed dogs do the work. Okay, there's one. Let's do the other neckline here. Again, the seam allowance is pressed over towards the lining. You see that? Okay, number 3 with right sides facing, so the inner and the outer armholes together. Okay, so we got to turn it back, right sides together. Here's one armhole. There's that side seam and that side seam. Now, if we look at the pattern, always check my diagrams. Match these side seams. This one, I press this flat and that's not a bulky seam at all. That'll be nice. And then up towards the back edge, and see our markings that we did with chalk. I can see them, so that's good. Here's this chalk marking, barely visible. Make that a little stronger. Okay, so here's one armhole, and we're gonna sew from here to here. Okay, nice and clear. One centimeter seam allowance. Now we'll do the other armhole. I'll match those side seams first. There's my chalk mark. Here's the chalk mark on this side. I know it's barely visible, so I'm going to make it stronger. Okay. So from here to here. Okay, there we are. Okay, so we're here. We just sewed the armholes. So now we've got to pull this through because we're going to understitch the armholes. Okay, those are understitched. So you can start to see how this is coming together. Here's the front, here's the back. See how these are understitched? And I'm going to press that too so it lays nice. Now we have to join the shoulder seams. So let's separate the lining, bring our arm up. See it between there? This one and this one are going to go together. Sorry for all my threads here. This one and this one, we're going to bring these through. Okay. So now we're going to match exteriors to exterior. Pin and sew. And then the lining and the lining. I had sewn this previously and my camera wasn't on, so that's why I ripped it out and I'm doing it again. Okay. So we've got exterior and we've got lining, and then the same on the other side. But let's do this one first so we don't get confused. Here's the exterior. Okay, now let's do the other side. Oh, here it is down here. I was like, where's the other side of my lining? exterior. Sometimes it falls down in there. I'm just going to give this a quick press. Okay, now I'm going to sew those. Uh-oh, I'm running out of thread. So now the shoulder seams are sewn. We're going to press these seams open. So now we're going to turn through. Turn through to the right side. And there we are. Yep. Yeah, this is open. This is open. The neck is open here. The neck is open here. Okay? So now we have to sew that together. So just take a breath. I'm going to reach in, grab this. We're going to bring this through so that it's inside out, just this area, because we're going to sew that together. It's not much. You're just going up in between the exterior and the lining and pulling it through so you can get to this and sew this opening shut, okay? So if you need pins, do that, and if you don't, then start sewing. Make sure these seams are flat. And back to, it's shut now. Am I making sense here? I need to move my machine a little. Okay. So now that's closed. Here's the one that is open on this side. So I'm only sewing from where I left off to where I left off. Only this bit. And if you need pins to hold everything together, then use them. This looks a little crazy because I was sewing along and didn't realize my camera was shut off. So my edges, I've had to unpick it. My edges are a little bit frayed. Yours won't be like that. Okay, opening to, well, where I started last time to where I ended last time. And that's just going to close up that opening. Okay, now mine's real messy. I'm just gonna clean this up a little bit. You won't need to do that. Okay, let's see where I'm at now. This is the hardest part, so as soon as we're done with this bodice part, this attaching the skirt is so simple. Really, really simple. Yep, I sewed that so I can press it. Oh, I didn't do this one. I didn't do this side. So this still is open. Need to pull it through. Match up that side seam. Put a pin. And then sew from where I stopped last time to where I started over here, and that'll close it up. Yes. All right, let's press. So these behave really nicely. And there's the bodice so far.
Bodice.
All right, let's get our pocket pieces and apply our pockets. So first up, see these markings? I'm going to take one pocket piece and match it up, marking for marking, right there. Same for this side. Marking for marking. There we go. Oh, by the way, we're on step 7. So now what we're gonna do, those markings, you probably can't see that on the camera, so I'm gonna make them a little stronger. Okay, see those? We've got 2 more pieces here to attach in a minute. So what we're gonna do is sew this down on each side. from mark to mark. Okay. Clip at the notches and understitch close to the seam on the side of the pocket bag. So let's notch, clip, clip, and on this side. All right, now we're gonna press this over. You can use an iron or just finger press. And we're gonna stitch on the pocket bag right here on both sides. This helps the pocket lay better and flatter when you have them tucked in, which is how pockets lay. There's one. Let me move these pins. They are all over the place. Okay, now this side, so I'm just gonna push it over, finger press it. And on the side of the pocket, I'm understitching. See how that looks, at least on this side? This one is going to go inside. Just so you know what's happening here, this one lays inside. So think of this as the opening to your pocket, right? Okay, so we've got our first pockets sewn onto the front skirt. Now we're going to take the other pattern piece, cut this off. And then you're going to match these pockets the same exact way. We're going to sew those on. And we'll notch and do everything just like the other side. Okay, let's sew from here to here, from here to here. To change my thread here in just a second. All right, I'm taking out my pins. I'm out of thread. This is all I had left. So I'm just gonna change my thread spool. Let's see, what color thread do I have nearby? Ah, light pink. Now we want to notch just like we did the other pockets and then understitch. Right. Here we are. So I'm gonna trim these threads out of the way. They drive me bonkers. Now let's pin the skirt pieces together. Right sides together. Match the pockets, match the side seams. When we sew something with inseam pockets, we come down here, cross over and up, and then continue down. You don't just sew down or else you won't have a pocket. For long edges like this, I always pin because it's just too easy to shift when you're sewing. Okay, there's one side. Let's just do this side first and then we'll do the other side. Here we are. I'm gonna turn, pivot. Here we are coming up to the bottom section here. Sometimes I go back and forth there a bit. Pivot, needles still down. Okay, there's one side. Let's take all the pins out. And again, if you want to serge, that's great. I'm here to show people if you don't have a serger, you can absolutely still sew garments. So what I'm going to do, I'm starting at the bottom edge, which is off the camera. All right, we've got a skirt and a bodice now. So we're gonna gather the top edge of the skirt. Now the easiest way to do this is to turn up your tension as high as it will go, and then increase your stitch length to like a 5, which is probably as high as most machines can go. And then we can sew 1 or 2 rows of stitching all the way around the top of the skirt, and that will gather it naturally. Now it works on my Bernina. I don't know if I've ever done it on my Juki, so I'm gonna try. Let's see what happens. You don't back stitch, by the way. You do not back stitch. Oh, it's not really gathering. Huh. I'm gonna stop here. I'm gonna raise my needle, lift my foot, and pull. And then cut. So if your machine is not gathering automatically, like this one did not, you're gonna have to select a thread and then hand gather. So let me take you overhead. I'm gonna gather this one thread and gently pull, scooching my gathering down as I go. You can't be rammy with this because you can break your thread pretty easily. So let's hope I don't break it. If I do, I might cuss. Now I can do this side as well. Oof, maybe. Yeah, and the trick is just pull on one thread. You can't pull on both front and back. So I'm pulling on the bobbin thread to gather this. There's one side. Now don't go too crazy because we only have to match the bodice. Okay, I'm gonna do the other side now from side seam to side seam, not going over the side seam. I'm gonna start a little, like a 1/4 inch away from it. Oh, that side's not gathering. Huh. Hopefully I can smush this down. Okay. So now here's my skirt. And it's inside out at the moment. And you can turn it right sides out, you can leave it inside out. All that matters is that when we're attaching our bodice, it's right sides together at the top and the bottom edges. So I'm gonna leave my skirt like this. I'm gonna make sure I know where my pocket is laying. So I think this is gonna be my front. They're symmetrical, so I don't think it really matters. I just have to make sure my front is to where I want the front of the skirt. Now to make this a little easier down here, I'm going to baste stitch the lining and the exterior together really quickly. Usually I would serge this when I put it together, but I'm not doing that, as you know, on this tutorial. Let me put these side seams together. And now I'm gonna just do a baste all the way around. Now the thing is because this is rayon, it's gonna wanna pull up and I'll miss the edges. So I better put in a few more pins. You don't have to do this step, but I find, at least for me, it saves me from having to redo seams later on. Once you get sewing a lot of garments, you'll find little things that can help speed up the process, and you'll know what to look out for so that little mishaps don't trip you up. But that comes with time and experience, you know, putting in the time making garments. Nobody can do this stuff perfect right out of the gate. No way. All right. I need to bring my what is this called? Tension? Foot pressure, whatever. I need to make it regular again. And then I'm gonna, oh, my machine can go all the way up to 6, but I think I'm just gonna do a 5. And I'm just sewing those layers together so it doesn't give me a headache on the next step. I immediately put my stitch length back down because I will forget. So now I can treat this like one piece. I'm going to take out my pins, and then just because frayed edges bug me when I'm sewing, I can't see what I'm doing well with all this fraying. I'm going to treat it with my pinking shears right now. This would be a nice spot to serge if you've got a serger and you want to experiment, you're not too confident with it. Sewing these two layers together with your serger would be a good option to practice, because you're not sewing it yet to the skirt, so you don't have to worry too much. It's not gonna ruin anything. Okay, good. See how much better that is to look at? So much easier. Okie doke, so here we go. I'm going to be putting the bodice inside the skirt. And we're matching the bottom of the bodice with the top edge of the skirt. Now for me, I always match the side seams first, because those have to be right. And I'm going to come over here. Here's this side seam. Where'd my other side seam go? Here it is. With these stripes, you can hardly see it. Okay. So now I know how loose or tight my gathering needs to be. Just kind of coax it. Don't pull too hard or you'll break the gathering stitches. This side I need to even out a little bit. Go. Okay, now the other side. Just kind of evenly smoosh these around. You don't want a ton of gathering in one spot and none in the other spots, you know? So just kind of, you can always unpin and repin if need be. So go slow. Take your time. Sometimes the hardest thing can be just slowing down and taking a breath. At least for me. Anyone else type A? Just take a breath. There we go. Awesome. Okay, now even if you have a serger, what I like to do at this point is sew around first. And then, if you have a serger, then go back and serge. And the reason I do that is because if anything is not sewn on properly, it's much easier to fix sewing stitches and unpick and re-sew than it is to take a razor blade or a scalpel to serging stitches. Believe me, I've done it, and I don't wish that on anyone. Okay, let's sew this together, and we're getting towards the finish line. You did turn your machine back down to 3mm stitch, right? Okay, back to the beginning. Now, I think I will serge that later, but if you don't have a serger, come in with your zigzag stitch or your zigzaggy pinking shears and trim that up. Ooh, I felt a pin. Okay, so now I'm gonna pull this through. All we have to do left is hem. I'm not sure you even need me for that. Oh, how fun. Now, what I would do is definitely press this seam where we just joined the skirt and the bodice down towards the skirt. You don't have to top stitch it, but just pressing it will let it lay nicely. Let it lay more nice. Let it lay nicer. No, I think it's nicely. Let it lay, it will let it lie nicely. Okay, so now this is the very last step. I have let my dress hang up on my mannequin or on a hanger, a padded hanger would be fine, overnight. And now I'm gonna turn it inside out to do my hem. So you're seeing the lined portion here. And remember, I'm gonna serge this after the fact. If you're not serging, zigzag or pinking shear that portion. Okay, so I'm coming down here. Let's go overhead. And I've got my skirt right here. I love the Clover hot hem ruler or hot ruler. It's made of a nylon poly material, so it doesn't retain heat and you won't ruin it by using your iron directly on it. So first, I'm gonna take it up 1 inch and press. And I'm gonna do this all around the dress. I don't really need much length taken off at all. So what I do is I fold it up 1 inch. This is the raw edge here. And then what I'm gonna do is tuck it under to meet that first fold. And I'm gonna sew a narrow hem that way. Do you see what I'm doing here? And then I'll be sewing right along that second fold. So it's fast, it's efficient, it works. I don't need to take a bunch of length off. This is my go-to way. So I'm just placing this. I should have hemmed my side seam. I should have ironed my side seam open. Didn't yet. I was in a hurry last night trying to finish. Okay, so I'm taking it up 1 inch and pressing. And then since we're here, I can tuck that down to meet the fold and press it again. If you want to throw some pins in there, you can. The only thing I will say about doing this kind of hem is it can be easy to stretch or pull, and you don't want to do that. Just be mindful of it. So this one looks like there. And then here, I've got this section over here. I'm gonna press this again because this section didn't get pressed as heavy. And then what I'll do is I'll speed up the rest of this so that it's not boring you, but you still get to watch as I'm creating my hem. So I'll just be quiet and hopefully Ramel can help me speed this up. And I'm coming down here to the last bit. It can be tempting to just wing it, but let's not. Let's measure. See how you can turn your ruler too when you're getting close? I love that. All right. Okay, let's get to sewing this and then we're done. So some people like to do the hem with a double needle. I'm not gonna get into that. I'm not that fancy. I just sew it around and get her done. That's how I am. Now I do like to start at a side seam because then when I backstitch, it won't show as much. Now, if you're looking at the project like this, you want to make sure that your bobbin thread is the right color because it's going to show on the outside of the garment. All right, I'm starting at that side seam. Now the trick here is to just let it do what it wants to do. Don't push or pull, and don't freak out if you have to sew in a little wrinkle. It's not going to show on the outside. When the hemline is circular and large, sometimes that happens, and I don't want you to think you need to rip it out and redo it. You don't. It's not going to show on the outside. I leave my pins in till I'm about to sew right over them. And I'm sewing up here at this fold. If you want to go back and do the bottom as well, you absolutely can. Here's another side seam. We'll trim all these threads later. I don't need to show you that, just trim your threads. Getting back to the beginning here. And there we are. Okay, let's go back to this view. I'm just going to trim this thread on the beginning and the end. Oh my gosh, did I run out of bobbin on like 2 inches left? Because I'm seeing a gap here. I did. Would you look at this? Go overhead and show them this. This is so ridiculous. I'm an inch. I had an inch left. I lost bobbin chicken. Can you believe that? Look at that. It's empty. I nearly made it. 1 single inch. See, sewists, Ramel, they know the struggle with this. Like, they get it. They get it. I didn't even know I was that low. Ugh. Well, I'm not going to fix it right now. I'll do that later if I remember. Okay. I'm trimming some of the longer threads here. And now my dress is done. Now, when you get that hemline sewed up, give it a quick press with your iron. I won't bore you and keep you here for that, but press your iron. Lift and press, lift and press, lift and press. It will just sit so nicely. So now here's the inside of my dress with its lined bodice. I'm going to turn it right sides out again. And for whatever reason, garments always look bigger when it's flat like this versus when you have it on. This looks like it would be just way too big for me. I don't know what that is. I guess it's because it's it's more like this, it's 3D. So don't freak out if it looks giant. You could always add a little sash tie here or a belt as well to bring it in even more if it bothers you. Yay, we did it. There is the lined bodice version of the Montana dress. Now remember what I said in the beginning. If you don't want to do the lined bodice, you just do one layer and it's super quick. You'll have to bind the arm size and the neckline. Just use binding. And you can leave it to show or you can tuck it under and you'll have to top stitch it down. So you'll see the stitching, but it's fine. I've done that a million times as well. So do whatever suits you. Okay, I hope you had fun. I had fun, and I will see you next time. Peace, love, sewing.